Good morning, class. So today for our read aloud, we're going to be reading The Berenstein Bears, Trouble with Money by Sarah and Jan Berenstein. Now, before we get started reading, one of the things I want you to think about is, have you ever saved up money for something special? What did you do to earn the money or to save it? Or what was that special thing you were saving for? You know, it's important to think about that when we talk about this book, because this book is about a brother and sister bear who start to care more about money than what really matters. Mama and Papa Bear try to teach them about saving and spending wisely. Now, as you read today and you listen, I want you to think about, you know, what lesson the Bear family learns about money and why did the author want us to read this story? All right, so let's get started. There's a cute part in the beginning that says, when little bears spend every nickel and penny, the trouble with money is they never have any. It kind of gives you an idea as where we're going with this. Brother Bear and Sister Bear knew quite a lot about the ways of bear country. They knew where the most beautiful wild flowers grew. They knew where the wild berries were the thickest and the juiciest. They knew the best spot for watching sunrises and sunsets. They knew where all the best honey trees were. They even knew a very special place where you could almost always see a rainbow from a secret space behind the waterfall. But there were some things that they didn't know very much about. One of the things Brother and Sister Bear didn't understand very well was money. Oh, they knew money was fun to have and even more fun to spend. And whenever they got some, as a present or for doing a chore for a neighbor, or for no reason at all from Grizzly Gramps, who tended to spoil them, or from Papa Bear, who spoiled them even more, they ran fast as their legs could carry them to the Bear Country Mall, and they spent it. For honeycomb on a stick, a balsa wood glider that did loops, a tiny little mouth organ that only played three notes. So as soon as they got money, they would go spend it. They never bought anything sensible, and they hardly ever saved. Once in a while, Sister put money in her piggy bank, but she usually shook it out again before it had a chance to cool off from her hot little hand. Brother didn't even have a piggy bank, so he didn't even try to save. Mama was becoming concerned about the cub's carefree, spendthrift way with money. I think brother and sister should have a regular allowance, she said one evening when she and Papa were working on the family books. An allowance, said Papa. Yes, so they can learn to use money sensibly, to save, to plan ahead. Oh no, said Papa. They're much too young for that sort of thing. Let them enjoy themselves. They'll have to worry about money soon enough when they're grown-ups, he added with a sigh. So think about what sensibly means, kids. But it was Papa who first lost patience with their carelessness about money. It happened one day when the cubs had been at the mall spending some pennies a neighbor had given to them for walking her dog. That was when they saw the new video game. It was called Astro Bear, and it looked very exciting. And you can see right there, my sons, whenever they got money, would go spend it very quickly on video games as well. A video game at the mall, Papa shouted. You must think I'm made of money. The cubs thought no such thing, and when they pictured it, it seemed very strange. You can see Papa Made of Money looks quite strange. Mama could see that they were puzzled. She explained, Made of money is just a figure of speech, my dears. That's when the cubs realized that the situation was serious, because Papa Bear only used figures of speech when he was upset. You must think money grows on trees, he shouted, another figure of speech. Video games indeed, he continued, becoming more and more upset. There was no such thing as video games when I was a cub. Why, I didn't know what money was until I was almost grown. Precisely, my dear, interrupted Mamma. And that's why this might be a very good time to start brother and sister on a regular allowance, so that they can. Absolutely not, roared Papa, knocking over a chair. They must earn their money. That's what life is about. Working, earning money, saving for a rainy day. The cubs knew how really serious the situation must be. Papa had used three figures of speech, and knocked over a chair. They decided right then and there to mend their careless spendthrift ways. So think about a couple of words there, students. A couple of phrases, figures of speech, and we'll cover that a little bit later, what that means or if you've heard that before, and what spendthrift means. And that'll be important to the theme of the book and what it's about. It turned out that the cubs were very good at earning money once they set their minds to it. First, they gathered wild flowers from those special places they knew about. Then they made them into bouquets and sold them by the side of the road. They were very hard workers. Business was very good. They gathered those fat, juicy wild berries and sold them door to door. Business was very, very good. Bears like berries. Brother and sister were turning out to be even better at making money than they had been at spending it. They organized guided tours of Bear Country's finest beauty spots. Sister's piggy bank was jammed full. They started a very successful pet minding service. Brother had to borrow Mama's sugar bowl to keep extra money. You see the money starting to pile up because we're not spending it as fast as they're making it. At first, Papa was very impressed and pleased. But when the cubs started to sell maps showing the locations of all the best honey trees, Papa began to have doubts. Think about what doubts means as well. Those honey trees are a family secret, he complained. The cubs don't seem to understand that some things are more important than money. They've gone from caring too little about money to caring too much. Why, just look at them. They're turning to greedy, selfish little misers. Right before our eyes, he continued. He pointed at the cubs who did, indeed, look like little misers greedily counting their money. They were keeping all the money to themselves. Cubs, said Papa in his sternest voice, we're going to have another talk. But before he could start his speech, the cubs took all the money they had earned selling flowers and berries, doing chores, minding pets, and selling honey tree maps, and dumped it into his lap. Here, Papa, said Brother, this is for you. That's right, said Sister. We thought if we made some money for you, you wouldn't have to worry about it so much. We hope it's enough. Papa was so startled and so embarrassed at having been so wrong about them that he was speechless. See, he thought they were just keeping all the money, but what they wanted to do was save some money and help the family by giving it to Papa. That's very generous, said Mamma. It's quite a sum of money, and I know Papa appreciates it. But I have what may be a better idea. Papa does worry about money, of course. Most mamas and papas do from time to time. But what Papa is really worried about is you. He wants to be sure that you understand that there's more to know about money than how to spend it. You know what I think, said Papa? I think we should start brother and sister on a regular allowance so they can learn to use money sensibly, to save, to plan ahead. An excellent idea, said Mama, smiling, because I think that was Mama's idea from the very beginning. What about the money we earned? Asked the cubs. You earned it, and it's yours, said Mama. What I suggest is that we take it down to the mall and put it in the Bear Country Bank. Good suggestion, said Papa. That money can be your nest egg. Oh dear, cried the cubs together. Another figure of speech? And a very appropriate one, said Mamma. She explained that the nest egg is one the farmer leaves in the nest to hatch another chick. When you put the money in the bank, it hatches interest. Interest, asked the cubs, puzzled. The bank will pay you for leaving your money there. That's called interest. That day the Bear family went to the bank and opened an account for the cubs. It happened that the bank was right next to the video arcade. Say, that looks interesting, said Papa when he saw the Astro Bear game. Let's give it a try. So the Bear family gave Astro Bear a try. Papa ended up with the lowest score. He said, we didn't have video games when I was a cub. Will you give me another chance at this sometime? Any time at all, said Brother and Sister Bear, giving their Papa a great big hug. The end. So think about what the lesson learned by Brother and Sister Bear were. And how do we know that the author wanted us to think about what matters more than money? And can you retell what happened at the beginning, middle, and the end of the story? You also want to think about what clues in the pictures and the words helped you understand how the characters were feeling. Those clues, along with the words that the authors wrote, help us understand the story better and learn from what they were trying to say. So it's been a pleasure reading you the story, and I hope you have many questions about what happened in the book, and we'll cover them one by one before our next story time.